Hey everyone, it is Asia Dang. Thank you so much for joining my channel. And if you are returning for week 2 of my credit card series, welcome back. I am glad that you came back because I know last week was a little intense. Last week was all about understanding credit cards for beginners, credit card basics, terminology that you'll see on your credit card statement, and a very brief explanation on how to use a credit card properly. This week, we are talking more in depth about credit scores. We still have a few more weeks left in this credit card series, so please remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date on my video uploads. And if you know anyone that needs this information, please share it with them right now. So let's first start off with the history of credit scores, because believe it or not, credit scores are relatively new. They were invented only a few decades ago, but now in America, if you do not have a credit score, if you have a low credit score, it makes it hard for you to do basic things like rent an apartment, get a low interest rate on a loan, or even in some cases, get a job. But whether or not you believe the credit system is unethical, we all have to engage in it, unfortunately. That's just the way our society is built right now. So let's just dive in. So what is a credit score? Simply put, it's a 3-digit number that represents your credit worthiness. It is a measure as to how reliable you are to paying back debt, and is a primary factor as to whether or not you get a loan and on what terms. A good score means that it'll be easier for you to get a loan and you will get a lower interest rate. A bad score means that you'll have a more difficult time getting a loan and you will probably have more unfavorable terms like a higher interest rate. So basically, we are being forced to build credit by taking out debt and paying that debt off on time in order to have access to things like housing and a car. Your credit score is based on several factors, which we're going to talk about more in depth later in this video. But your credit score is maintained by 3 credit bureaus: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Now here's the ultimate kicker, y'all. Only data supplied by big lending institutions like student loan providers, mortgage or credit card companies, and auto financers end up in your credit report, while other contractual obligations like your phone bill or rent don't share that information with the big 3. Big lending institutions send our information to the big 3 credit bureaus, and then they send our information to credit score companies like FICO, and that is where we get our credit score. And these credit score companies determine how reliable we are about paying off debt. By the way, credit scores through these various companies may be slightly different depending on how they analyze the information that is given and how they weigh different factors. But in general, they should be relatively close in number to one another. The highest credit score you can have is 850. The lowest you can have is 300. Basically, anything above 650 is good. Anything below 650 means you need a little work. And if you don't have any active accounts, your credit score will just simply be 0. Our credit score is calculated based on a whole bunch of different factors, so let's break those down right now. Payment history is the single most important factor of your credit score and accounts for around 35%. Basically, do you pay your bills on time? Yes or no? When I was in debt and could not afford my monthly student loan payment and didn't pay my student loan payment for years, my credit score was horrible because I was unreliable when it came to paying my debts. Lenders just want to know if you're going to pay them back on time. If you pay them on time, then you'll be good. The next largest factor in determining your credit score is credit utilization. For long-term loans like student loans or your mortgage, they're looking at the percentage paid. So basically, the more you pay off your student loans, the more you pay towards your mortgage, the better your credit utilization ratio is. But when it comes to your credit cards, it is the percentage of your credit cards that you use every single month. So with student loans or your mortgage, the lower your balance, the better. With credit card debt, the lower the percentage of your credit card that you actually use compared to your credit limit, which is something that we discussed, that terminology we discussed in the last video, the lower that percentage is, the better you are. It is generally recommended that you keep your credit utilization ratio under 30%. So if you have a credit card with a limit of $1,000, you do not want to spend more than $300 of that every single month in order to maintain a 30% utilization. Next, let's talk about the length of credit history. This is just simply the amount of time that you've had your active accounts. If you took out a student loan 15 years ago, that account is 15 years old. Your credit score looks at the average age of all your active accounts. Once the student loan is paid off in full, it no longer counts towards the length of your credit history. But let me say this, when I paid off my student loan debt, when I paid off my credit card, when I paid off my car, my credit dipped a little, but it bounced back. So please do not let the dip of a credit score prevent you from paying off your debts. The next factor is the type of credit accounts, because it's all about variety, honey. Lenders want to see different active accounts. They want to see you being able to manage your different types of debt, your long-term debt like student loan and mortgage, just as well as your credit card debt. We live in a system that rewards being in debt and being responsible with that debt. And finally, the last factor is recent credit inquiries. Too many inquiries in a short period could signal to lenders that you may be taking on too much debt and may be too risky. So if you're planning to apply for a loan, for a mortgage or a car or whatever, just make sure you avoid any hard inquiries the months leading up to some of those big purchases. Okay, it's time for another check-in. How are we doing? Again, I know that this is a lot of information, so if you have to pause, come back to this video, please do that, but this is really important information in order to learn and know how your credit is working for you, or against you, but hopefully for you. Now, the good news is if you have a low credit score, you do have the power to increase that. Start by making payments on time. The moment I started getting more consistent with my debt payoff was the moment that my credit score started to rise. So start making your payments on time, keep your credit card balances low, and avoid opening too many new accounts at once. It's all about demonstrating smart financial behavior. And there you have it, folks, the basics and importance of your credit score. If you have any questions about credit scores, please let me know in the comments. If you want to share with us your thoughts on the credit system, let us know in the comments as well. So last week we talked about credit card basics. This week we talked about credit score basics. And next week we're going to go through how to properly pay off your credit card. I know that this all may seem like a lot. And I don't mean to scare you away from credit cards. But again, the reason why I don't talk about credit cards on my channel is because I don't want to encourage someone to use a credit card if they don't know how to use it responsibly. So I'm doing all of these steps beforehand so you know exactly what you're getting into when you open up a credit card, and you know exactly how to use a credit card and pay a credit card off properly. Once we get those basics done, then we can play with the fun stuff, like how to use a credit card to take a free first-class flight to Europe on your honeymoon, which is what I did. So just hang in there. This is the really intense stuff. Next week will be really intense because we're gonna break down some of our viewers' credit card debts, and I'm gonna show you how I would personally pay them off. I just want to teach you all the basics before we get into that fun stuff, okay? I'm Asia Dang. Thank you so much for watching. Luke really appreciates it. Again, you have a week. If this is a lot of information to digest, you have a week, and then we come back next week to probably a more intense video. But just know there's a reason behind my madness, all right? Thank you again for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe in order to stay up to date with this series, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.